Where are you kind of at on that?
I don't think there'll be a confiscation because well, first off, people are worried about the government going door to door. That'll never happen because there would be 100 deaths on the first day. I mean, people come to the front door and say, "Give us your gold and silver," and we're going to get lead instead. What I think is much, much more likely is if they change the tax laws and they say, "Okay, whatever your cost basis is, you got to pay, pick a number, 90% tax on your gain." I think that's much more likely than confiscation.
Okay, got it.
And that
So
will create black markets, by the way.
yeah, yeah,
When
for
you
sure.
create a black market and you tell a man he can't have something, he wants it even more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that definitely I could see that for sure. I mean, I kind of have my ways of getting my medal. Just thinking about going into next year, how far do you think we're along in this kind of breakdown of the monetary system? Monetary crisis and the crash of the dollar. Like, how far do you think we're along? Do you think, you know, we have more time to buy? The Fed typically prints a lot of money and bails out the markets and everything. There are a lot of issues with that. Obviously, I mean, we see equities going higher, but they are going higher in nominal terms, not in gold terms. Especially when
Right.
you're looking at many of these folks that are sitting on profits from the S&P, and you're like, well, measure that to gold, and
Right.
it's not very much at all. Uh,
Yeah, if you look at that chart, it's ugly.
yeah.
Equities have rolled over to the downside versus gold. And I would say, you're asking me how much time. I would say just look at the charts. The charts are telling you there's very little time left. My answer would be we're just one crisis away from someone defaulting and breaking the daisy chain.
hmm Got it. So, what's your perspective on what's happening in the East? So you have this dynamic with the BRICS. You have the Shanghai Exchange. India's bringing in their silver and gold, and China's buying a lot of gold. And folks are saying like it's underreported of how much actual gold they have. And so, just curious in your perspective on what's happening in the East.
Yeah, it's definitely underreported. I mean, I could show you on the back of a napkin how China, unofficially but official reserves are at least uh, 35,000 tons. And they say they've got what, 3,000 tons. I mean, they've done it. If you look at what's gone through Shanghai over the last 15 years, plus their production of 400 tons per year, they're so far above 3,000 uh, tons of reserves. It's not even funny. I would just say that the East, Asia, China, Asia, India, uh, they know the game is up. If we understand that there's, a fiscal mathematics problem in the Western world, they got smarter people than we are. They know. And just look at the BRICS. How many countries have joined the BRICS? 140, 150 countries? That's more than half the world. Well, I mean, way more than half the world geographically. They are moving away from the dollar because they understand that the dollar is going to basically default. And when I say default, there's two types of default. There's non-payment, which that'll never happen. But then there's overissuance, and that is happening.
hmm
Overissuance is inflation,
Yeah.
hyperinflation.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, especially, I mean, they'll pay you back in nominal terms and the dollars
Monkey
decrease.
money. They'll pay you back in monkey money,
Yeah,
monopoly money, whatever.
yeah, 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 for sure. Do you have any perspective on what's happening with Italy? So I know the prime minister came out of Italy and said that the Bank of Italy gold's holdings should belong to the state, and so there's been some
Right.
conversation there. And I don't know what that means for the EU. I mean, it does kind of seem like a fracture in the trust there, and the ECB was kind of critical of the Italian government for stating this or whatnot. And so, curious if you have any perspective there.
Yeah, I haven't followed that real closely, so I don't know how far along that is. But that's simply Italy taking an Eastern mindset and saying, "Hey, it's our gold. We want control of it. We want it within our borders."
Hmm. Yeah, for
And
sure.
you could go back, Daryl. You could go back to what was it, 2013, when Germany said they wanted 300 of their tons back that was being held in New York, and they were told, "Oh no, this is going to take like 3 years." And I did the research, I wrote an article that 300 tons could have been transported on four 747 cargo planes. Those can hold 95 tons per plane. So they could have done it in what, 2 weeks, three planes, and then not a fully loaded third plane. Now, by 2016, 3 years later, Germany got their gold, but guess what? It was not their gold. What they deposited was returned to them with different registration numbers. It was not the same gold, but the United States had 3 years to source 300 tons.
Hmm. Okay, got it. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So, which metals do you feel like the most like opportunity is? Do you? I mean, obviously, silver has moved significantly. Do you see this going a lot higher? And then some folks they are position themselves as silver, then eventually will convert that to gold once the gold to silver ratio comes down.
Right.
The platinum group metals have moved significantly. Platinum and palladium. Where are you seeing the opportunity, and what strategies do you think people should consider around that?
Yeah, I'm not real big on platinum, palladium, just because they're not truly a precious metal. I mean, they are industrial metals. The gold to silver ratio got as high as 120. Now it's what, 63, 64, something like that. Silver comes out of the ground at 9 or 10 to 1 versus gold. And for hundreds of years, it was discounted to 16 to 1. The reason it was discounted 16 to 1 from 10 to 1 is that it took 10 times the amount of weight when you're moving either gold or silver. It took 10 times more silver versus gold to move the same amount of capital. So because it was more difficult to move silver, man discounted it to 16 to 1. Then along came COMEX in 1976. The suppression scheme started, and silver's much easier to suppress. It's been suppressed for that 50-year time frame. And now that looks like it's beginning to unwind. I mean, I would not, if you've got silver and you're wanting to convert it to gold, I'd do it in tranches. I'd do it in four tranches. I'd probably do a quarter when we got the 50 to 1, a quarter at 40 to 1, a quarter at 30 to 1, and then the last tranche of what you want your final mix to look like. You do that final tranche based on your gut.
Uh-huh. And what do you see in the future as far as like the role of silver? Obviously, you have this industrial use. Do you see it being more of a monetary, like the monetary demand, like increasing?
Right.
Because some folks would convert it to gold because they may see like, okay, well, silver's a lot more volatile and there's a lot of industrial components, and so let's go over to the gold, which has been majority monetary. And so, just curious in your perspective there.
Yeah, gold is the money of kings, the money of governments, if you will, and silver is the money of the people. And I do think that, especially China, but the East views silver more from a monetary mindset than Westerners do. So I think silver, and I'm not saying that silver and gold are going to become come currency. They're not gonna you're not gonna ever see convertible paper monies that are convertible to gold and silver because they've already figured out when they do that, it converts. And then their supplies are wiped out. But I do believe that you're going to see governments back currencies with gold and silver, but not be convertible. Will be ratio back 20%, 40%. I mean, I don't know what the number is going to be, but I do believe for a currency to be trusted, it has to have some sort of backing. And that's what the BRICS are doing. That's what the BRICS have been talking about, going on what, 6, 7 years now. I think that's where we're headed is toward a ratio back currency, and that backing will be gold and silver.
Okay, yeah, appreciate you sharing that. So, what do you take of this whole stablecoin legislation that was passed? I mean, you had the Genius Act, and um, it seems like a rug pull in a lot of ways with the dollar, how they can get the demand for the dollar and devalue the dollar and
Right.
everything. And so, just curious what you're thinking there.
That's all it is. It's artificial. It creates artificial demand for the dollar because at this point, I mean, who are buying treasuries? Japan's not buying treasuries. They're selling them. China's not buying treasuries. They've been selling for a few years now. The demand for treasuries is no longer there, which leaves the Federal Reserve a now not even a separate entity. Now it's underneath the Treasury umbrella. The Treasury, so it's the left pocket lending to the right pocket. That's the demand. So they had to do something, and that's what the stable coins are.
Hmm. And how much printing of money? I mean, the Federal Reserve obviously is they've positioned themselves to end quantitative tightening, and then position themselves to ease. They did just inject like 40 billion into the repo market and such. I mean, some people would say this is peanuts compared to COVID, but they are in position to be able to backstop the government. I mean, because the debt and the deficits continue to balloon and get way out of control. And so, just curious in what your outlook is on the Fed.
A very easy and very short answer: whatever it takes. They will print whatever it takes. And I mean, 2008, 2009 should show you that.
Hmm. Yeah.
The Federal Reserve lent, what was the number? $17 trillion, more than half of that outside of the US to support the system. And we didn't find out about that until 2010.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And like as far as the average person and becoming aware of this, obviously you've been writing about this for a long time. I've been doing podcast hosting on the metals for about 5 years, and so we've been trying to educate the average person on the importance of them. And so now you have like the big banks coming out, with targets on gold as well as allocation to gold and silver. What are you making of that?
Um, I think they had to. I mean, if gold went from 1300 to 2000 and then chopped around and went from 2000 to 24, 2500 and then exploded from not exploded, but like I said, the day after the Russian treasuries were confiscated, gold started going higher. It just it the banks can't tell you don't believe your own eyes.
Hmm.
So the market pretty much forced them to lend some credence, otherwise they become irrelevant. And I mean, the public, think about this for going on, it's 10 years now, 2015 and on. We've been fed nothing but bullshit in
Yeah.
every way, shape, and form. Uh, all the government reports, oh yeah, we're running at 3% inflation. Really? What is that? 3% a month or 3% every quarter? We know that's wrong. Unemployment numbers. Really, only 4% of the population's unemployed. and you got 100 people, 100 million people not working. Uh, the COVID jabs. Maybe you should talk about this if you put it on YouTube, but the COVID jabs, safe and effective, turned out to be what the alt media talked about, with the spike proteins, etc. No matter what the topic is, we've been fed bullshit, and
Mm-hmm.
people are waking up. And I think the banks understand that they can't tell a public that's watched gold run from $3,000 to $4,400 in what, 6 or 8 months. They can't tell them that gold bad, hold your savings in dollars. They can't say that. So I think they were forced into it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I could definitely see that. So outside of like, holding physical metals, what should else people be thinking about? I think you do a little bit of, kind of self-sufficiency,
Right.
prepping and such. What are some other things that people should be thinking about in addition to owning real money?
Yeah. On my website, I have an icon up top. It's called Grizzly's Corner. This is a guy that can go into central Idaho with a pack of mules for 6 months at a time and come out fine. He's written a bunch of articles. He's put a bunch of links up of products that he's used. That's a good resource for prepping. Uh, when people ask me, how much should I put into gold and silver? My standard answer is whatever you don't want to lose.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That could seem like a lot at times. So,
Yeah, and lead is another precious metal.
yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, it sure is. I've definitely been buying more of that, especially since the pandemic and the shortages we saw there. So yeah,
And it will barter. I mean, if you have, maybe not odd calibers, but if you have common calibers, that's going to be good barter.
yeah, yeah. I remember selling. I remember actually, I had a friend that I bought, him a life-threatening object, and he needed the lead for it, and so I
Right.
was able to supply that and supply it at a premium, and so yeah, I've definitely been buying more of that, especially here. I know it's different if the audience is living in Canada. I know it's a lot different there, but if you're in the U.S. and you got the 2A rights and everything, so you definitely want to exercise those. So Bill, where can people connect with you, find more information? I mean, you're always writing about this, you're appearing at podcasts and everything. Where can people go to learn more and to, follow what you're up to?
Sure. My website is simply billholter.com. There is like I said, there's a tab up top called Grizzly's Corner. You definitely want to look at that. There is a way to reach me through the website, or if you want to contact me regarding precious metals business, my business email is